So I went all these months with like surrounded by hundreds of people, but like also like complete isolation, like zero human contact. And I'm like, this is so weird. So I got fed up. So I go, I'm just gonna stab my roommate. I was just a messed up guy, you know, young man. You know, mind screwed up, body screwed up. You know, I planned on dying in that box. I remember the last time I got high, I was in there and I gained consciousness and I was laying there on my back, just like a dead body. I was just laying there and I opened my eyes and I just remember saying to myself that I had this dialogue like, I don't got it in me. I learned there's a consequence to every action, whether good or bad. Chris, rest in peace, both of us together were like, where can we go every night just to be safe and like not get high and not die? We go strip clubs for 24 hours. So we go to Tootsie's. You can get into Tootsie's for free.
Welcome back to the Ceno Show, Season 3, Episode 1. I need you to subscribe. I just gotta start. This brother, thank you for being here. I just want to say that. I love this man. I'm blessed to be in spiritual partnership with him. He is a survivor. He's a hustler. He's an unbelievable work ethic. He's a fucking good human being. He's beat the system. I can go on and on about what this cat's created, why he's still alive, doing great things in the world. He's going to break down maybe a little of his gambling stuff, maybe talk about some labor. I don't know what direction we're to go, but it's going to be fun. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Thank you. So this is episode 1 of the new season.
Episode 1, Season 3, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to try to give you my best, kick the season off.
Yeah, I know. I'm not worried about that. I picked you for a reason, man. Look at that smile. That's it. See that smile? You smile more on my show than any other shows, I think, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah,
all right.
I never smile on camera.
I know you don't. Why are you smiling now?
I don't know. I'm happy to be with you.
You're feeling the love, right?
Yeah, I feel the love.
Because you know I got mad love for you, man.
Yeah.
Because you're honest.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're vulnerable. And you always want to go higher. And you're not afraid to take criticism and feedback.
100%.
Right? And
100%.
That's what makes you really fucking special.
I'd like to stand on those character traits.
Yeah, I know. It's powerful, man. Listen, a lot of people know about you. They know your story. I thought some interesting things. I mean, I almost felt you came out from the womb with some cards in your hand.
Just about.
Right?
Yeah.
You came from a family, good folks, but you pop like to hustle a little bit, right?
That's right.
Is that a nice way to say it?
Yeah, that's actually, I might steal that phrase.
You want to say it? Yeah.
That's great.
You want to fill in a little blanks on that? Tell us about young Mikki.
I was born into a family of like a long line of very high stakes gamblers. My dad, he didn't gamble actually, but he grew up with it. So his dad and mom, who had raised me at a pretty young, started raising me when I was pretty young.
And where were you born at?
I was born in Jersey.
Jersey, yeah, you're a Jersey guy.
Yeah, and then as a very young guy, I moved to New York, and then from New York, where I lived like my whatever stages of life, then I moved to Miami, and I was in Miami for 8 years, and then moved to LA almost 6 years ago.
All right, we'll get into all that. Talk about young age. Talk about what you're like. What's going on through you with your head?
Well, I was always a bad kid. That's for sure. I was always in trouble. I was never malicious. I just had this like lack of fear of consequence. And I learned something really early on. I remember I was on the playground. I forget what grade I was in, like second grade or something. I had this teacher, Mrs. Moore. And so all the kids went out for recess. And I remember me and this other kid named Evan. I remember really well. Evan lived up the street from me. So we're on the playground. Miss Moore blew the whistle, which meant kids come back. We have to go to class. And I remember Evan was like trying to hang around me. And I go, I don't think I'm going to go back. And he's like, well, we have to. And I was like, well, what if we don't? And he's like, well, we got to. And I was like, I don't think I have to. And I remember sitting on the playground. He didn't want to leave me, but he didn't want to get in trouble. So he was just on the wood chips part,
right, sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm just on the jungle gym, and Mrs. Moore was blowing the heck out of this whistle, like just yelling and hooting and hollering at me. And I just kept saying like, I think I'm gonna go. And Evan was like stuck in limbo. He finally gave in and went. I just like stayed on the playground. And I remember like when all this was said and done, and I finally like was done playing and went back to class, there was no consequence. Nothing happened. She like yelled at me, and I'm like, all right, cool. We're gonna continue on. She's like, yeah, continue on. And I kind of remember that I always felt that way. I was like, I don't think I have to do anything, and I can do anything, and I did. Sometimes it got me in trouble, I learned there's a consequence to every action, whether good or bad. You work really hard, the consequence is success. You go to a club instead of finishing your work for the day, the consequence is there's a pay cut or whatever that consequence is. So I go, okay, I'm fully responsible for the outcomes of everything in my life. So there's a lot of times where I would just like kind of weigh it, say I don't want to do something, or I do want to do something even though people say I shouldn't. And I go, well, let's look at what the potential consequences is. Is the output worth the input? And I make my own decision. There's a lot of times that it didn't go well.
Right.
I've done some years incarcerated. I've done some years homeless. I've had a lot of problems in my life, but I did all that pretty young. And so pretty young, I was able to find the limit to consequences. And as long as I act within those bounds, I think those bounds are way further than most people believe they are. And I think because of that, people live in like their own self-imprisonment.
You're early on. I mean, you kind of like, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah, pretty early.
Right?
Yeah.
And you even early on, you had a gift to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
One time somebody asked me, I forget what I was doing. I was in some like some group, something, I don't know what. And they asked me, they're like, what's the first business you ever did? Like ever. Like, but not like as an adult making money, just like your first hustle as a kid. And I think most people are talking about, like, oh, like I selling drugs, whatever. I actually have a cool story. I must have been about 7, and I'd raced motocross competitively since before then. And I remember I was at a race. It's it's called Loretta Lynn's, and it's in Tennessee, and it's like over the span of I think 2 weeks or 10 days. And when you pull in, and there's so many riders and families, like thousands, they give you the sticker pack. And in the package has a couple dirt bike magazines and all like these companies, the sponsor stickers. So I remember like looking at the stickers, like these things are pretty cool. And I'd see the kids start trading them. And I was young, like 7. And so everyone's trading stickers, and I go, oh, there's something here. So I remember like trying to trade all my friends for like all the cool stickers. And I would like make good deals. I'd be like, oh, I got this really big one. I'll trade you this for like 5 of those, green ones, whatever. And after I basically had monopolized my little friend circle, I put a picnic table in front of the RV, and I started selling the stickers. And then these other kids caught on. So I basically monopolized my little section of the track, like the pits. I found a way to acquire the majority of the stickers, started selling the stickers. I remember the stickers that I didn't have, that like some of my buddies still had. I said, I'll give you a cut if you let me sell your sticker. So then I got 100% of the stickers in that part of the RV park, basically. Some other kids across the way caught wind that I was doing this. They set up a table and they started selling stickers. So I went over and I bought all their stickers out, came back to my table, and just sold everything for $1 more. Yeah.
That's smart, buddy. That kind of sets the tone, right? I mean, that's kind of who you are. You figure out an angle, you think differently, even at that young age. But also, you were quite an accomplished motocross racer, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You won a few champions in the day?
I did.
You want to tell the folks what you won?
Yeah, I won all types of stuff. Matter of fact, there's a series of dirt bike movies called Mini Warriors. I think there's like 11 of them total. Starting like 97 or 98, probably filmed to like 2006. I'm in most of those movies racing. Yeah.
And what made you get out of it?
So my first race, I was 3 years old. I was on this bike. I don't know if you know bikes, but it's called the PW50. It's this little tiny Yamaha. Yeah, little, exactly.
Yeah, know that
I had
bike.
this like stupid yellow helmet, like just, my first race. And anyway, I went, like, basically my family, I was too young to know the difference. My family was committed to it. They go, we're going to do this full time. You seem to like it. I'm like, okay. And my brother as well. And so my whole life consisted of it. Training 5 days a week, traveling for a day, racing for a day, do it all over again, So 7 days a week, I didn't feel like a normal kid. I was always getting hurt. I was breaking bones left and right. And I didn't understand basically how good I was. I just didn't know. It was just normal. Like all the top riders, we all travel together, train together, race together. So to me, it was just like, I don't know, me and the other kids are just racing. And I just got so burnt out. I wanted to be a normal kid so bad. I was always hurt, out with injury, that I just basically just gave my parents enough of a nightmare that they just gave in. They said, fine, we quit.
Got it. And how old were you when you did that, when you quit?
I'm not sure, but I'll say 12 or 13.
Is that when you start kind of chipping away with drinking weed? Is that kind of when that path starts?
I started a little bit before. I started getting high when I was 11. I started selling drugs when I was 12. Not that I was like a kingpin, just like selling whatever I could, and I didn't have like access like that, you know. And then I did a little bit, and I think that I might have gone harder than the other kids my age, because I felt like I'm always on the road traveling and training, that I only have like a couple days a month to be a normal kid. So on those days, I'm going to try to pack in as much regular kid stuff as I could. So when the kids started, you know, drinking a little bit, I was like, I have a month's worth of drinking to do in one day, because I'm going to go back on the road to keep training.
If I remember correctly, buddy, your dad goes to prison when you were 12 or 13?
No, he got indicted when I was about 12 or 13. He didn't go to prison till I came home from juvie, or around the same time. I came home from juvie when I was 16, 15, 16.
Let's talk about that juvie.
Uh-huh.
Horrible.
Horrible.
Yeah. Netflix.
There's a mini series on Netflix about it, yeah.
What's it called, please, for the audience?
The Program.
Right.
I was there.
Walk people through what that experience was like.
It was rough. They starved us a lot. They beat us a lot. I was in 2 places, and both the places I was in is in that Netflix series. And they were polar opposites in different ways. The second one was, as far as I'm concerned, was a cakewalk. The first one was physical abuse. So a lot of kids got beat and starved, and it was interesting. It was like you lived in this perpetuated fear of physical harm without justification at all times. And there was no protection, and it was sort of like, and I, you know, as a grown adult now, I can look back and I can make a lot of sense out of it. First of all, a lot of us were really bad kids, and second of all, at that exact age, there's so much happening to, like, I'm sure women also, but I can only speak on myself. It's like a young man, there's so much happening in his body and in his brain, you know, puberty and testosterone and all these things, and nobody really knows how to cope with it. Plus you add on like the emotional of, why did my family put me here? Why am I abandoned? Why is the court system not taking me home? Why is the court system leaving me stranded? You know, doesn't the judge know that I'm being starved? You know, I'm crying out and nobody will help you. So you have all these things going on at once, and you never know when you're going home. So it was built for failure. To leave the program, there's two things that can happen. It's your only 2 options. Is one, you turn 19, because they can hold you from a minor until you're 19. And the second thing is that you graduate. But the way they built this, it's supposed to be like a behavioral reform program in this detention center. And the way the program was built was always to set you up for failure, because they get paid by the month for every child inmate they have. And it was not a secret. They want to keep us as long as possible because it's a cash cow. And in the first location that I was at, I didn't know this till a long time later. You're not allowed to contact your family. They give you 15 minutes every Sunday to sign into. We're also homeschooled, by the way. You know, we're in like a juvenile prison, so we're homeschooled, but there wasn't teachers. We taught ourselves, and they'd give us this program, and to not get a consequence, which was oftentimes physical, you would have to pass. I think it was like 3 tests a week or something like that. And you would just sit at the computer. It would give you like 10 pages of information, and on the 11th page was the test. And you have like 2 tries to pass the test. I think we have to pass 3 of those a week to not get a consequence. And Sunday was our day off from school. You'd sign into that same school program, and you'd leave a note. You type a note into the computer. You have 15 minutes. So the mail would only go to one address. So you had to know whose address is going to receive the mail, and then you break it up from there. So let's say like I knew it was going to, for example, my mom's house. I knew I had 15 minutes. I go to mom, everything's not good. I haven't ate in 3 days. You know, they beat me a few times. You know, I've been sexually assaulted, blah, 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 blah. And I go to the next one. I go, hey, Dad, just want to let you know, I hope one day I can see you again. You know, when you go to prison, like, I hope you're okay, blah, blah. Next one, brother. So you have 15 minutes. Now, what happened, I didn't learn this till way, way down the line, way after I left this whole situation, is that when you push update, you have a case worker. Mine was a woman named Miss Cass. She would go in and edit everything to take out those bad parts, then print it out and mail it to my parents. And it took like years for that to come out. And all these places got shut down by the feds, by the way. It became like a huge problem. And if anybody watches the documentary, like they'll see it. So I didn't know for years. So for years, leaving this place, I would say to my parents, like, you knew the abuse that I was having. why didn't you come save me? And the truth is, they actually didn't know. They were sold a different image, and I go, why wouldn't you go, to the judge and tell them that I've been 8 days or whatever it is? And they go, we don't even believe you. And they would do this thing called PC1, PC2, and PC3. It stands for parent-child, and there's 3 of them. And on the 3rd one, you get to go home for good. It means you've completed your prison term. And I never made that, but on PC1, which I did make, they have your parents come, and you get to see them. I think it's for like 6 hours or something. And what they do is, in the one that I was in, they have a room that I never saw before. It was this giant, beautiful gymnasium, like brand new flooring and like basketball hoops and like brand new blown up basketballs everywhere. It was like so beautiful. And I'm like, for all the time that I've been in this prison, like I never even knew this part of the building existed. None of us did. And they had these huge rows of tables with more food. I saw more food that day than I saw in my entire prison term. It was unbelievable. And my parents are sitting in that room with all the other parents waiting for me. And I show up and I have a black eye and like, what happened? And I'm like, I've been writing you in the letters. And they go, what are you talking about? And I go, I told you I've been getting starved. And I remember my mom looked and she's like, how are you starved? There's more food here than any of us could ever eat. And it was like, I don't know if you know that scene where North Korea invites the American journalist and it's all staged of like a fat kid standing on the corner to be like, our people aren't starving. That's exactly what it was like, and my parents never got to really know the truth until like years later as I became a young adult. And they go, once they start to trust me, basically, then they start to understand what I went through. And then all these stories came out about all the things. And I go, my parents are like, those are the same stories that our kid told us. And then the feds came and shut these places down and it became public information.
A lot of people that went through that, it cracked them.
Yeah.
They end up killing themselves, high addiction rate, cycle. How did you survive that? I mean, one of the things it's mind blowing about you, of all the stuff you've been through, you stayed balanced somehow. You still have a fight in you. You're not nutty.
It's arguable.
How'd you come out of there with your head high?
So I was in the first one for exactly 6 months. Then I got transferred to another one. And again, both of them are in the show on Netflix. And so the second one I went to, my brother was there. 3 months after I went to the place that was in New York, after 3 months, my brother got sent to a place in Utah. I do another 3 months in New York, so 6 months total, and they transferred me to Utah. I ended up doing another 6 months in Utah. So I did exactly day for day a year. And and this place had a different type of abuse. I don't know if I would use the word abuse there, really. I just don't know another word on the fly to describe it as. So the first place, you were in constant fear of your physical safety from both the other kids and the staff. The staff were very, very vicious, violent abusers. And so were the kids. But the thing is, like, kid versus kid is kind of an equal fight. A lot of the things happened. There was jumping was really what it was. But it was like all the kids were in gangs, but it didn't matter, Crip, Blood, indifferent. One day you just picked somebody and that's who you took out your anger and your confused feelings, physical and emotional. You just took it out on that person. You'd beat them up and you'd carry on. There'd be no reason for it, which is kind of what led to a lot of the fear. At any time, someone can walk behind me and just tee off on me and beat me pretty badly. And then the next day, those same guys who jumped me will come to me and be like, hey, today we feel like jumping Jimmy. Let's get our aggression out on Jimmy. And then we jump Jimmy. And then the next day it'd be Timmy, and then so on and so forth. In the second place, that wasn't a fear, the physical harm. It was it's like this weird emotional torment. It was so odd. I had specifically had an odd journey there. So there was the guy who owned it. His name was Ron. I forget his last name, and he's so egotistical. I'm pretty sure that he was that he would sexually abuse the inmates. I'm pretty sure that it came out later on. He abused a lot of the girls in the women's side, children, young girls. I didn't have that. He didn't sexually abuse me, but so he did this thing called Ron's meeting, right? Named it after himself. And Ron's meeting was he picked. So there were so many people there, and he would group us up. I don't know, like 10 or so kids per group, and that's how it was organized. And each group had its own staff, and then like 2 groups per caseworker. So that's how it was decompartmentalized. And he would pick a different group each day, and he would come in and he would just like do like checkups. He called it Ron's meeting. Now the thing is, there was a consequence for breaking rules called Staff Buddy. And they'd put you in a bright orange shirt. It was the only shirt you were allowed to have. And you couldn't communicate with any of the other inmates, even the other staff buddies. So nobody would acknowledge my existence. So I get there. I never heard of this. And I'm there for like a day. And the new kids go to Ron meeting or whatever. I go. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm putting you on Staff Buddy. I don't know what that means. A staff comes and gives me an orange shirt and says, this is the only shirt you're allowed to wear. All right. I'm in there for a day. I'm 15 or 16 years old. I don't know what this means. Sure, I'm in an orange shirt. Cool. Then the next day, a staff comes in and says, hey, you have to go to Ron's meeting. You're a staff buddy. All right, whatever. And I go and he looks at me and he goes, do you know why you're on Staff Buddy? And I go, I don't know what Staff Buddy is. And he goes, great, I'll see you tomorrow. And I go, oh, okay, I don't know. Next day, he asks me, same deal, same thing. So all these months go by. And the thing on Staff Buddy is nobody's allowed to acknowledge you or they get put on Staff Buddy. So it's isolation is what it is. So in adult prison, it's being in the shoe. It's isolation. As a kid, they called it Staff Buddy. And it's because, I don't know actually why they called it that. I don't know. But the other kids can't acknowledge that you exist. They can't say hello. Can't say goodbye. They can't say excuse me. They can't say pass me that. So I'm like, yo, can you get me a glass of water? If they look at me, they get put in the shoe. So I went all these months with like surrounded by hundreds of people, but like also like complete isolation, like zero human contact. And I'm like, this is so weird. So I got fed up. So I go, I'm just going to stab my roommate and I'm going to go.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
obvious
natural transition.
You're fucking stab this brother.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stab my roommate, and they're gonna send me upstate to like a regular state prison, and there at least people can acknowledge my existence. So in the first place, I can't remember what utensils we had. It was probably a plastic spork. In the second place, Utah, where I was staff buddy, the only utensil we could eat with is a metal spoon. And I remember getting there on day one thinking, why are they handing me a metal utensil? This is probably a bad idea. Like I remember so vividly thinking, this is going to be a mistake. So for months, I'm on Staff Buddy, no human contact. I'm over it. I steal a spoon from breakfast. And every day in the yard, I'm just sharpening the shiv, I'm just sitting there. So every day I'm real discreet. Don't forget, nobody can communicate with me. Nobody can look at me because if they look at me and we engage, they get put on Staff Buddy. So it's really easy to get away with it. I just sat in the corner like this, just chipping away on the concrete. So I have it ready, and the spoon part that you put in your mouth?
Sure.
It's so easy. You just bend it into a handle. I have the perfect shank ever, right? The day that I planned on stabbing my roommate, I have to go to Ron meeting first in the morning. And for no reason at all, it takes me off Staff Buddy. And I go, there's no way you just saved my roommate. I didn't even like my roommate. I didn't like the kid anyway. I was like, there's no way. So he takes me off Staff Buddy, and I'm like, all right, I won't stab him today. Like, let me feel this out. Let me feel what it's like to be like human contact again. And I went another few months, and I never stabbed the kid. And then my dad was going to federal prison. And so there's a petition to the judge to allow me for early release. And that's what happened.
So you were 16 then?
I was sick when I came home. So I went in September 11th when I was 15, and I came home September 11th when I was 16. So a month before I turned 17.
What was it like when your dad went away for you?
It was kind of weird, to be honest.
Yeah, be honest.
It was weird. So like the neighborhood I grew up in was a lot of mobsters,
real gangsters.
Yeah, gangsters. A lot of made men, a lot of mafia, and so there were dads that went to prison, but it was always like this kind of thing, like you don't want your dad to go to prison, Right. It was like wearing a dunce cap. So anytime like a kid's dad went to prison, everybody knew like your dad just went to prison, and you were kind of like not ostracized, but sort of like
the thing.
Yeah, it was like a thing, So it wasn't like. I lived in neighborhoods when I got a little bit older where it's almost like going to prison was cool. And like, oh yeah, my dad's in the joint, my brother's in the joint. I just came home. Oh, I'm getting sentenced next month. And people bragged about it. That was in a different type of culture. The culture that I was in when my dad went to federal prison was naturally that prison was taboo. I mean, that's normal.
Sure.
So my dad had gotten indicted. I was pretty young before I went to juvie, and my dad was a part of a very, very public case. It was New Jersey's biggest racketeering case. and he was in the newspaper every day. And
Oh, it was a RICO case.
yeah, huge. Chris Christie was the prosecutor at the time, and
wow.
he used this case to promote himself.
Springboard him
get
to
springboard to
That's
governor.
right.
Yeah. So Chris Christie could thank my dad.
Yeah, a lot of people were involved in that case.
A lot, hundreds.
Yeah,
Huge
politicians,
RICO
a lot of
case.
folks. A lot
Exactly
of folks
right.
went down.
Exactly. A lot of politicians, a lot of folks, a lot of people went down. Huge indictment. Yeah, hundreds of people. And yeah, they said like my dad, whatever, it don't matter. But my dad was very publicized in an already very public case. So like anytime you turn on the TV to the news, like when I was a kid, like at this age, every day I like see my dad on there. And every day he's in the paper, and every day like I was already a bad kid on my own, right? I was always like fist fighting and selling drugs and doing drugs and whatever. And anytime like I'd be for the neighborhood kid, it was like always a thing to like talk about my dad in prison. It was like always a thing, and it was like a really ugly stain for me for a while, you know. And I guess that was it. Then yeah, he went. I was there. So he self-surrendered. It was in Morgantown in West Virginia. Yeah, I don't know, I drove him there, and he self-surrendered. I remember him walking up to the gate, and I'm like, all right, Dad, you know, I'll catch you when I catch you.
Wow.
My high school sweetheart and I were together at the time. She and I were together forever. And I remember we would go make the drive from New Jersey to West Virginia. I think it was like once a month. Me and her would go out there. So this is my mom, my brother too. And we made like a whole weekend out of it. That was really nice. But it was also kind of embarrassing, you know? Like, hey, baby, like, will you come with me to go visit my dad in prison? You know?
Date night this week's gonna be. It's gonna yeah. What was your relationship like with your mom then? How was she dealing with everything? What were you guys like?
By then, my grandparents took over raising me. My mom was like, I didn't see my mom for a lot of years around this time. Also, I didn't see my dad for a lot of years. I did visit him, but like there was a certain time where I know for sure I went at least 5 years one of the times without any contact to my parents. But I have like some faint memory. I'd go to my mom's house to check on her, and I'd open the front door, and the living room was right at the front door. It was like almost not like a lobby. How you say, like there's like an area that like was nothing, and then right past that was the living room. So I'd open the front door. And I felt like every time I went, this is the exact same thing I saw. And by the way, it could be super true that it was the same thing, right? Because I'm pretty sure she lived like this the whole time he was in prison. I would open the door, I'd look past like the hallway or whatever and see her in the living room with her dog in a blanket on the couch watching Spanish soap operas with this really almost looked like a permanently sad look on her face. And I just remember like it was so depressing and it was so sad. And I'm like, I don't get it, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, every time I opened, I swear, like, every time I went to go check on my mom, open the door and look at her, and she'd, like, look up at me and then back at the TV as if, like, I wasn't even there.
Wow.
And that was for, like, a few years. A lot of years, actually.
And you're getting in trouble at that age.
For sure.
You're right.
I'm a bad kid.
Yeah, you're a bad kid.
Yeah.
Just doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
Things are getting worse. Your addiction's getting worse.
Correct.
And then you're homeless.
Correct.
Are you homeless in New York City?
The last time I was home, I was homeless in New York a couple times, but the last time I was homeless, it was in New York. I was homeless in different countries even.
But where were you? Were you in Central Park, or were you Harlem? Where were you at?
Yeah, I was in the Heights. I was in Highbridge Park in Washington Heights. Yeah, I was homeless a little bit in Harlem too, like 125th and Madison. I mean, I lived over there as well before being homeless. But I think what you're referring to is me being homeless in Washington Heights.
Washington
Highbridge
Heights.
Park, yeah.
And how old are you then?
23 to 24.
What's going through your head on a daily, right? You wake up, you're in your tent, you got a nice little tent.
Sick setup, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for
you're
real.
proud, right?
Yeah.
You're proud of your tent.
Yeah.
But what's going through your head? Like, people are walking by, what's going through your head?
I felt on top of the world, honestly.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
The tent that I'd lived in wasn't a tent. It was actually a sick setup. So, okay, so the way Highbridge Park is.
It's very great. I love you have pride in your thing. That's the thing.
Well,
it's cool,
I don't know.
man.
That's how it was. You know, I don't know. So in Highbridge Park, in Washington Heights, there's an entire homeless community. Like, bro, I mean, Washington Heights, it's the hood. Like, whatever, bro. There's bums everywhere, right? It's Spanish Harlem. So Highbridge Park specifically had a homeless community, and they lived on the If you go to the backside of the park, there's a way to walk down like a cliffside, and under that cliffside, there's an entire encampment. And I believe actually, I forget what year it was, there was a serial killer that lived in that underside. And what they would do is they'd wait for a bum to smoke some crack and get too high and get stuck, and then come out and stab the bum to death. I'm pretty sure the guy got caught though. This is before my time. So I remember when
alumni.
Yeah,
He's alumni.
yeah, exactly. So I remember when I first was homeless over there, I went and I seen the underside, and it was like so chaotic. It was kind of like Skid Row, right? But like tighter, like really on top of each other. And I remember I'm like, I don't want to make new friends. It's like almost like going to like school, like a new school. You have to like get in with everyone, figure out what table to sit at and who's who and what's what. I don't want to talk to these bums, like these crackheads. I was like, I'm on my own hustle. I got my own drugs to get. I got my own stuff to do. I don't want to deal with these guys and their politics. They're going to try to rob my little, if I even get my own little tent in this like underpass thing, they're going to rob my tent every time I leave. Like I make friends with people. I said, I don't want to do that. So I spent a few days there, I think, and I was like, I'm out. So I started living just in the Heights, just in Washington Heights. I'd find like sometimes they have what do you call it, like the doorways that have like a gap on the porch,
sure,
like on the stoop. So if I can find a good building like that, I would just sleep in the stoop under the doorway. It was also becoming wintertime, so it was raining and it was cold, so you could block the wind in there. So I was just living on park benches, right? And then I went to go cop drugs one time. There was a short black dude. His name was Shorty, and he had robbed me. I got like $50, and I forget what I wanted. Whatever, I gave it to Shorty, and Shorty ran off on me, robbed me. Shorty was homeless too in Washington Heights, so like we're gonna see each other. Right? Like, we only go 20 blocks in one way and like 5 blocks the other. Like we're gonna see each other, And so I seen him.
I love that, man.
Yeah, it was so stupid. And so I seen him a couple weeks later, and I'm like, yo, bro, how you want to handle this? Like you need a consequence. And he goes, okay, how about this? He goes, instead of a consequence, he goes, why don't I show you my setup? I'm homeless, you're homeless. I got a good setup. If you like my setup, you can live with me in my box and call the debt even. I was like, all right, it's getting pretty cold out. It's like snowing. I'm like, all right, let me see your spot. It takes me back to Highbridge Park, the same park that had like that under platform thing. And instead of going down though, there was like a snow pile kinda. And he walks me around the snow pile. It wasn't a snow pile. It was snow covering his box. It was like perfectly camouflaged in the middle of the park. So what he did was he took shipping pallets, like, it's like wood, it's like double layered. And he put, I think, 4 on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the sides. He put plywood on the top. He insulated the whole thing with he probably robbed like a construction site and took like insulation and carpet padding and whatever you can find like that, insulated in between layers of all the pallets. So it was super warm in there. Then he got a blue tarp, put it over the top. And because it was snowing all winter, the snow just went over the blue tarp, and it's just like a little like snowy hill. Like it looked totally like natural terrain. There was a knee wall there, and behind the knee wall was sort of woods kind of, and eventually that's how you can get down to the other homeless encampment. So where the knee wall was, if you just walked the knee wall, that was the entrance to his box. So you couldn't even see from the outside, like passerbyers didn't even know that he was living there. And it was warm in there, and he had like his whole means was in this box or whatever. And I was like, honestly, it is a good setup. And I took him up on the offer, and I moved in there.
How long did you stay there for?
A while. I got sober there.
Right.
It's been almost 10 years now.
Yeah, no shit, brother. But you had an angel. Somebody helped you get to Florida.
Yeah.
Let's walk the audience through that amazing story.
So I got a friend who's somehow still alive. His name's Charlie. We'll call him Charlie. His name's Charlie.
Let's call him Charlie.
Charlie's like a famous gangster from New York. A real gangbanger, real criminal. He's known. And I knew him. And we had been in Miami together some years before that, both like trying to get sober. And Charlie had kept in touch with my mother. And he said to her at some point, to my mom, says, if you can find Mikki and get him on a plane, fly him back to Miami and I'll make him my problem. I'll take care of him. I have very faint memory of this, but somehow my mother found me. She honestly, I would say she probably did do this. I could probably call her right now and ask, but she probably drove around the streets of Harlem nonstop, relentlessly asking people if they seen me, showing a picture. She probably did that, if you want my guess, but I don't really know. Somehow she found me, and she told me, she goes, Charlie says, if you get on this plane, that he'll take care of you. And I remember like, bro, it's the dead of winter. It was December. It was December, and I'm homeless in New York City.
Fucked up.
Yeah. And well, I got sober in that box with Shorty. So I was messed up, yes, but I wasn't under the influence. I was just a messed up guy, young man. Mind screwed up, body screwed up. I planned on dying in that box. I remember the last time I got high, I was in there and I gained consciousness and I was laying there on my back, just like a dead body. I was just laying there and I opened my eyes and I just remember saying to myself that I had this dialogue like, I don't got it in me. I'm not going to get high unless somebody walks up and puts a needle in my arm. And if they do, I'm not going to stop them. And I'm not going to get up and get sober. I'm just not going to get high unless someone puts a needle in my arm. I just remember like laying there thinking like, I'm going to lay here till I die or something else intervenes. And I just like, I'm not getting up to hustle. I'm not panhandling. I'm not eating. I don't care about food. I don't care about water. I don't care about anything. I'm going to literally lay here till I either wither away and die or something else intervenes. And that was kind of, and I stayed sober. I have like pretty faint memory, but I stayed sober in that box for a while. And at some point, if you want me to like kind of bridge a gap, probably at some point I started to gain my physical strength back and I left to go find food and water and stuff like that, probably. And on one of those missions is probably how my mother found me in the street. And she told me this, and I just remember thinking like, I'm messed up, like I'm just cold and hungry out here. I don't want this. And she's like, get on the plane. I was like, all right, fine. And I got on the plane and I flew to Florida and I landed. Charlie picked me up at PBI. And I remember exactly where his house was. I know, because I knew the area. We drove past his house. I'm like, where are we going? And he goes, you have no money. You're only a liability. You're only going to be problematic in my life. You're going to work at a tattoo shop for free. You're going to scrub their toilets and mop their floors. You're not going to get paid, but I'm going to let you live in my house. I said, deal. And so
why'd you say deal?
Oh, it was a sick deal.
Why was it a sick deal?
All I had to do was hang out at tattoo. I was like, scrub toilets. I was like, bro, I used to like shoot using water from toilets.
Yeah,
like,
right on, man.
I was like, so what? You want me to like scrub some toilets and mop floors, but then I get to live in your crib,
Got it.
Yeah.
And you did that?
I did that for a while. I didn't eat for a long time. Like, I mean, like, obviously, like, I ate, but I remember, like, one guy gave me a month's supply of ramen one time, and I had to make that last a long time. And something I would do, I didn't want to ask nobody for anything because Charlie already gave me a second chance at life. He's letting me stay in his house, and I'm just a full-time liability. And so I didn't want to ask people, like, yo, can you buy me food? Yo, can I get a couple bucks? Nothing like that. So I didn't say nothing. But anytime someone would bring home leftovers, I'd be like, hey, by any chance, you're going to finish that? And they go ahead, bro. So I survived off leftovers and ramen.
And you would take the bus there, right?
Yeah. So that first day, so Charlie, yeah. So okay. So he takes me to the shop. It's on Federal Highway. To this day, all these people are still my friends. And he walks me up. There's a husband and wife owner. It's Michelle and Chris. And he goes, Michelle, Chris, this is Mikki. He's gonna scrub your toilets and mop your floors. And he's just gonna live here. Like he's gonna just survive during the day in this tattoo shop. And that'll be it. They're like, cool. I said, thank you guys. And he left. And as he left, he gave me $20. And he goes, it costs $1.80 to take the bus, the 2 towns to my house. I'll see you when you're done with work. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did my first day, whatever. Day was over. One thing that I'm really grateful for is the bus stop was right at the shop. Mm-hmm. When I get home, his house was very far from that bus stop. It was like I had to walk through the town and get home. But at least it was only one time. Like I don't have to do it both sides of the journey. So I remember I worked all day, like again, mop floors, whatever, took out trash. They're like, yo, here's money, go next door and get us lunch. Like, all right, whatever. I did all that stuff. And the day ends and I go to the bus stop, I wait for the bus comes, I got $20, walk in, boom, they give me the change, drive me 2 towns over. I walked pretty far when the bus only went up and down the highway. He lived far from the highway. And I never had bags or anything. I was homeless, so like that didn't matter, And I'll just walk all the way through town, go home, go to sleep, wake up, walk all the way back, take the bus 2 towns over, shop was at the bus, and so on and so forth. And then, yeah.
Why did he make a bet on you?
I think because he was so similar to me. He's older than I am, and I think that everything that I was doing, he was doing when he was my age, or however, if I said that right. But he and I were really close. Back when we were both affiliated and doing crime and stuff like that, we were very close. We ran a lot of the same game, And I think we respected each other's hustles and we liked each other's style of crimes. And then obviously mine was not sustainable. I went back into homelessness. And I think he just like felt for me. He goes, you know, like there was two ways that crime was going to go. Either you're going to make it or you're going to go to prison or be homeless. You didn't make it. I made it. Let me help what he believed to be like his younger self.
No, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
What'd you learn in that tattoo shop?
I learned gratitude. I was so stoked to have a job that didn't pay me. I was so stoked to scrub their toilets. I was just stoked to like exist. That was cool. I'm like living in South Florida. A week ago, I lived in a snow-covered box with Shorty, a dude who robbed me, you know, in New York. I was like just chilling. I was just happy.
And who introduced you to 12-step rooms there?
So
how did that all go down?
So I had been court-ordered to meetings when I was 12. That's when it started. And pretty consistently, like my whole life. So I was always familiar with them. I've attended a bunch. But I had a conversation with Charlie one time. So I was at his house for about a month. And we're sitting down, and he's like, Mikki, what step you on? I said, none. He said, Mikki, you got a sponsor? I said, nah. He said, how many meetings you been to? I said, none. And he said, Mikki, you're going to get high. People had told me that forever. Like, and everybody was always right. You know, like those times I sustained from using, they were short-lived. Like we all knew they were short-lived. And something happened when Charlie told me this time, which was probably like the millionth time that I've heard that feedback in my life. But something happened, like in my brain, it was like almost like in a movie. It was like I had like all these like in my head of every single time somebody called me a loser, a scumbag, you know, I'll never be anything. I'm gonna die in prison. Get away from me.
Wow.
We can't be friends. When my high school sweetheart broke up with me, all the bad things she said to me, all that flashed in my head. And like I went back to reality and I was like, you're right. I am all those things. And I am gonna get high and keep being those things. And I didn't like the way I felt. So I went back to the shop because the day prior I heard a dude use the word sobriety, but I don't even know the truth is I don't know what context he even used it in, honestly. I just was so desperate not to feel the way I felt when I had that moment with Charlie, reflecting on how big of a loser I really was. And so I went to this dude. His name was also Charlie. We call him Skinny Charlie. I went to Skinny Charlie and I go, hey, bro, can you save my life? Like, I need help. And he goes, yeah, I worked the 12 steps. And I go, bro, I already know the 12 steps. I've been going, at this time, I was like, I've been going to meetings for 10 years. I was like, bet, I'm in. And he goes, nah, bro. He goes, it's only gonna work one way. And he goes, I don't care which way you work it, because I got a sponsor and I work it correct. So whatever you do is gonna be your business. I'm just gonna help get you there. I'm like, okay.
Wow. And he brought you to me. That's where you met your sponsor, right?
And then, yeah, so he became my sponsor for the first 9 months. And he took me through the steps. I worked with Skinny Charlie for about 60 days, and I got through my 12 steps. Roughly on day 60 or so, I already had my first group of 5 sponsees. And that's where I actually started to recover. I'm just some kid who's barely not homeless, who doesn't know how to have a job. Even if I knew how to make a resume, I have nothing to put on a resume. So to this day, I don't know how to make a resume. Why would I? I got nothing to put on it, you know? So, yeah, then all of a sudden I have like grown men. I remember when my first sponsees was a lawyer, and I wouldn't say like a big fancy lawyer, but I remember thinking like, it's a pretty serious lawyer. And he's calling me on a daily basis asking like, how do I save his life? And I'm like, this is a grown man with a wife and kids. I've been to his house, got a beautiful house. I'm living on my buddy's couch, like hardly not homeless, and I'm saving this lawyer's life. And I remember feeling with that dude how serious I had to take this. I go, this grown man and his whole family's relying on me, some punk snot-nosed 24-year-old kid, you know. I said, let me get the answers. And then I'd call and I'd talk in meetings and I'd call anybody that I knew that I can trust in the rooms. I'd be like, hey, this is a question my sponsee asked me. This is like real life stuff that I never had to deal with. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I don't have any of this. How do I deal with it? And all of a sudden I'd take all this information in, and that's where I really started to learn the real truth of how to stay sober, get sober, and stay sober. And that was the information I'd give to my sponsees. And that's when I started to really recover.
Wow. And no cravings. It was taken away from you.
I didn't have time for cravings.
Ooh, talk that. Fuck yeah, man.
I worked at the shop.
You just knew to get right in service, busy.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. I just did what I was told to do. When Skinny Charlie took me, he goes, okay, we're going to work your 12th step. I'm like, all right. He goes, here's an address. Meet me there at this time. I'm like, all right.
You say yes to everything.
Yeah, you have to say yes. What are you talking about? How am I going to say no? How am I going to say that I know better than you? My brother, I'm 6 seconds sober, barely a needle knot in my arm, and barely not living in a box in Washington Heights. I'm gonna tell you how to live our lives. You know, I'm not that stupid. So anything Skinny Charlie said, I go, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, no problem. I'll be there.
And then somebody asked if you want to come paint some houses.
Yeah. So yeah. So just so you know, when I had like 9 months sober, I started to plan my relapse, and that's when I got the new sponsor, the one that just passed away.
Talk about that, but it's super important people get hip to this. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Skinny Charlie says, you know, meet me at this time at this location. I met him there. It's outside of a meeting. It's all the way in Pompano. And I'm like, all right. It was like in a strip center. And we go in the meeting, and as the meeting's ending, they do like the literature or whatever. And the chairperson of the meeting says, does anybody here need a sponsor? And my sponsor was sitting next to me, and he goes, pick one of these people, remember what they're wearing. And like all the people raised their hand. And I picked one person, remember what he wore. He goes, when it's time for the prayer, you're going to hold his hand during the prayer. I'm like, okay. So the meeting ends, time for a prayer. I beeline it right for the dude who I remembered what he was wearing. I beelined it, I held his hand, and we did the prayer. And my sponsor on the other side, and as soon as the prayer ended, he goes, ask him to be your, he goes, tell him that you're a sponsor now. And I just looked at the kid and I go, hey, I'm Mikki, I'm your sponsor now. And the kid goes, okay. You know, the kid knew less than I knew. So both of us don't know how this works. We're both listening to Skinny Charlie. So when Charlie told me that I'm his sponsor, I just said, yeah, you're right. I guess I am now. And when I told that kid that, the kid's looking at me like, you're the Skinny Charlie in my life. So if you're telling me I'm your sponsor, then you're my sponsor. And, you know, that's how I got my first sponsee. And then he's like, go back tomorrow and do it again. I did it again. I got 5 sponsees, and he goes, now we're going to start taking them through the work. And he would coach me on how to take them through the work, and so on and so forth. So anyway, so then I'm working at the shop, and I'm making no money. I have no money, and I'm not really eating, whatever. The house that Charlie was renting was owned by a dude named Sean. Also, to this day, it changed my life. Such a good friend. And Sean was the landlord. And Sean was like basically within the same age-ish, you know, of us, give or take, you know. There's like a 10-year gap between the three of us, and he was like in the middle. And he shows up to the house to like check on something, and he sees me standing next to Charlie, and he goes, he's like, basically he goes, hey kid, you want to make $100? And I'm like, bro, I haven't made $100 in a long time. And by now it's like the middle of summer, we're in South Florida, and he goes, you're gonna paint the outside of a house. Should take you half a day, but I'll pay you for the whole day, $100. I'm like, for sure. So he dropped me off with some buckets of paint and some paint rollers, and he's like, go ahead, paint. And I painted the house, and at the end he gave me $100, and I was so happy. And he goes, you want to paint another house tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, for sure. He goes, I'll pay you $100. I'm like, cool. Paint the other house, gives me $100. He goes, do you want to work with me full time? I give you $100 a day. Just do whatever I need you to do. I'm like, yeah, for sure. So I called the tattoo shop, and I was like, hey guys, I'm really sorry, but I have to quit. And they're like, so happy. They're like, thank God, you know. They're like, you're just like a burden. They're like, you don't give anything, you know, like, you know what I mean? I wasn't getting paid anyway, so nobody cared. And we all remained really good friends. So quitting the tattoo shop was super easy. And then I started working for Sean, and I was just a day laborer is what I was. And I was doing demolition, and then Sean would teach me how to do demo. I did demo, you know, took the stuff, then threw it out. And then when that was done, he would show me how to do construction. He taught me how to cut tile, lay tile, hang sheetrock, taught me how to frame, taught me how to do like surface level plumbing. Like I can't I can't build a trench, dig a trench, and then build a pipeline through it. But I can, you know, take out and reinstall toilet, sink, you know, faucets, bathtub, shower. I can do all the molding. I can do caulking. I can, you know, all that kind of basic stuff. He would just teach me every day, whatever task Sean needed done that day. He would take an hour, show me, and say, good luck. And then I would do it. And I did it good. And he was able to leave me at job sites alone and take other job sites. So he started doing that. Now he's getting twice the income with no additional overhead. So he starts making a bunch of money. And he decided to buy a new work truck. And he gave me what basically was my first car.
Wow.
And it was our old work van, and it was one of those rape vans with no windows on it, and just totally destroyed. And I was so stoked on that thing. Me and my buddies, we'd push all the tools to the back. We put lawn chairs in there so we could all drive around together. We went to the club in that thing. I took girls out on dates in that thing. Yeah, I loved that thing. You know, that was cool. That was my first set of real wheels.
God, I hope you have a picture of that, because that'd be fucking great, right?
I wish I did.
The relapse story, though. You were planning the relapse.
So it happened a little bit after that. So So then I'm doing that basically, and that's my life.
You're making a few bucks now.
Yeah,
You had money
$100
to
a
while.
day. It was so cool. And it was like, I don't know how much money your average person makes. I don't know if $100 cash off the books is a lot or a little, to be honest. Like for someone else at that point in their life, I have no idea. But for me, it was more than what I needed. It was like the perfect setup. I got a free car, get $100 cash every day in my pocket. My boss paid for my lunch most days. On Fridays, we went to the strip club and got free lunch, and he paid, the $10 to get in or whatever. Like, bro, I had the coolest job, and $100 a day cash every day in a free car. And looking back, I probably didn't have insurance on it because I know I wasn't paying it, but whatever, it was cool. It was a good setup. And then I started planning my relapse, and I didn't realize it at first. It was like a slow, subconscious, a little time went by, and I remember the house I stayed in. I remember everything about that house. I remember my bathroom. I remember my shower, and I was in the shower when it dawned on me. I remember when I was in the shower, I was like deep in like my imagination land. I was just like chilling, just in my head thinking, and something like snapped me out of it. And I realized what I was doing was, for like a month prior, I started piecing together the opportunity to start using drugs again. And at that moment in the shower, I was so deep in thought, glorifying how good this relapse is going to be. And it just like struck me in the shower, and I go, I've been planning my relapse for a month. And I remember thinking like, this is how much money I have saved up. So this is how long I can get high for. I go, this is how long I can not pay my rent. I was paying for a room in a house. I go, this is how long I cannot pay rent for before I have to leave this room. And when I have to leave this room, I was like, oh, then I can go stay there for probably this amount of time. And I just started thinking, how long would it take before I hit bottom again? And then I even started planning, once I hit bottom, who can I call to come save me? And I was so deep in this shower, like thinking, like, oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. I never like actually said to myself, I'm going to go get high and it's going to be good, until that shower. And that's when it dawned on me. For a month, I've been slowly piecing together the pieces to enable a relapse. And I go, something has to change, or I'm going to relapse. And I got a new sponsor. I quit my job. I changed my phone number. I like canceled everything. I was going to strip clubs basically every night. And the reason for that is I didn't have a curfew, right? So I didn't have any accountability at night. And my buddy who's trying to stay sober too, he's dead now, but Chris, rest in peace, both of us together were like, where can we go every night just to be safe and like not get high and not die? We go, strip clubs are 24 hours. So we go to Tootsie's. You can get into Tootsie's for free, and it doesn't cost you $1 unless you sit at the catwalk or get a section. So me and him would go in there. We'd each buy a cheap cigar, like $10. You get in for free. We'd each pay $10. We sit in the back, and we just smoke cigars and hang out all night. And sometimes we'd shoot pool. There's a room attached to the club with like 30 pool tables in it. We just go in there and shoot pool, me and him, for like $5, whatever. So that's how we didn't get in trouble during those bad hours. So
That was your safe house.
That was our safe
Strip
house.
club.
Yeah.
We don't recommend that for everybody, but it worked for you guys.
I don't recommend it, but it did save my life.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't recommend it. Yeah, and then so anyway, so I quit everything when I realized I was planning a relapse. I quit everything. And I only let back in my life what God saw fit. And coincidentally, it's been 9 years since that moment. God never saw fit that I had to attend a strip club again, and I've never been back. God never saw fit that I had to associate with certain types of people, so I never have. And I only put back what God forced back into my life.
Beautiful, buddy. Talk, you're a numbers guy. Talk about the 2% that you came up with. I love that story. So
as I said, I was court ordered to meetings since I was like 12. So I basically thought I got it. I get it. I'm like, you idiots. You need someone to hold your hand through the steps. Like, you can't just do the steps. Like, we're not smart enough. I felt like that about it as a child, like an idiot. So I had attempted to get sober so many times. And what's interesting about steps 3 and 4 is that people have a misconception. But the only people that have a misconception are the ones that's never done it. Every time I hear someone say, oh, I went out on step 4. Oh, step 4 was so scary. Step 4 was so hard. In my head, as loud as I can, I'm screaming, you never did any steps. Steps 1, 2, and 3 have no proof. There's no validation that you ever did those steps. You just tell your sponsor the word yes, and you say step completed. There's no proof you did 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. The first time that you ever have to show proof of doing any work is on step 4. And all these people are always talking about, mostly men, for this example, they go, how can I share with another man my deepest, darkest secrets? And I go, you just proved that you've never done steps in your life, because that's not what step 4 is. That's step 5. Step 4 is made a searching and fearless moral inventory. That's just you and you, brother. And you know what you did. You were there when you did it. Putting it down doesn't change anything. If you were mean to your ex, you cheated on her, you were mean to your mother, you stole from an old lady, whatever some people may have done, you were there when it happened. You writing it down doesn't change anything. It doesn't make it hard. So if you're scared to share with another man, talking about a 5th step, you can't do 5 without 4. For me, I had a possibly an interesting perspective on step 3. I did relapse on step 3 a lot of times. It's not because I wasn't doing the work. This part is kind of interesting. I did it because I wasn't willing. Step 3 is about willingness. And I can justify my unwillingness pretty easily. I remember I was living in a halfway house and I had a sponsor before Skinny Charlie, before, previous times. His name was Johnny Juice, actually. It was Staten Island. So Johnny says, how's your steps going? Let's go to step 3. I'm like, cool. And he goes, what are you up to? I'm doing great, man. And I always knew, like, be honest with your sponsor. And I go, I'm doing great. I'm selling some drugs, but like, that's it. He goes, you're selling drugs in sobriety? And I go, well, I'm not selling it to people in meetings. I'm just hustling on the street, And he goes, you shouldn't do that. And I go, buddy, I never graduated high school. I'm a convicted felon. I got face tattoos. I was like, I'm not getting a job. I was like, what do you want me to do? I'm selling drugs. I got to pay bills. And he's like, you probably shouldn't do that. I was like, Johnny, you don't get it, brother. I'm never late for curfew at my halfway house. I'm not disrespecting women. I'm not cheating on my girl. I'm not fist fighting anywhere. I go, I'm crushing it. I can do one thing, dog. I got to pay bills. I could treat myself with a route to do so. Don't knock my hustle. And he goes, you probably shouldn't do it. And I go, you just don't get it. You just don't get me. And he goes, all right, brother, no problem. Okay, I relapse, right? So I come back, I call Johnny, I go, all right, Johnny, I'm done. I'm gonna get sober again. He goes, all right. I go, you were right, by the way. I was selling drugs. You told me it was gonna lead to my demise. It did. You're right. I'm not gonna sell drugs. He goes, cool. I go, but I'm gonna pimp some girls out. He goes, you probably shouldn't do that. And this is back when pimping was cool. This is before Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy. This is back when it was really cool back in the day, right? And he goes, you probably shouldn't do that. I go, Johnny, you don't get it. Girls love me. I'm really good at this, And he goes, yeah, I hear you, but you shouldn't do it. I go, Johnny, you're not listening, bro. You don't get it, bro. I'm not late for curfew. I'm always respecting.
Speech, the top.
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole 9. And I go, I'm also not selling drugs, the one thing you told me not to do. And he goes, well, you got 2 things. Don't pimp. I go, oh, you don't get it, bro. I'm doing excellent. And so I built this idea that if you take a test in school and you get a 98%, you still get an A+. There's nothing better than an A+. So 98% is maxed out. You don't need 100. 98 and 100 is the same thing. The problem is that 2% of the time that I'm going to do whatever I want, sometimes I want to get high. So if you ask me 100 times, Mikki, do you want to get high? 98% of the time that I'm doing the program, I'm listening to my sponsor, and I'm doing the steps, and I'm living the principles, I'm doing all the right things, 98% of the time I'm going to say no. And I got a defense for that. But that 2% of the time that I do whatever I want, you ask me 100 times, and 98 of them I'm going to say no. But 2 of them I'm going to say yes. And my relapse is 100%. I either got high or I didn't. And I did every time.
And those are the numbers. Those are the real numbers.
Those are the numbers that controlled my life.
I'm going to flash for a little bit. So briefly, this is amazing. You figure out the rehab game and you become unbelievably successful at it.
Correct.
I always say how fucking smart you go. I'm not that smart. You figured out something very cool. You sold it. You had a real chunk of change now, not $100. You moved to Los Angeles.
Right.
You're living downtown in a penthouse.
Yeah.
COVID comes. You're in a funk though.
Yeah.
You're sad. You're depressed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I had sold my companies when I was living in Florida in like my mid-late 20s. And while the sale was happening, I had 2 partners who were also my best friends. One got murdered and the other disappeared. And so they're out of the picture. My girl who lived with me for years, she and I split up. And I sell the companies. And I have this, chunk of change. And I go, my two best friends are gone, either dead or missing. My girl and I split up. I'm alone and I have all this money. And the thing is, like, I went from, being in prison to addiction, to being, in prison to homelessness, to being in prison to just trying to stay out of drugs and homelessness, to then work. And when I was building these companies, I was working 16, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, like no breaks, no vacations, no holidays. Anything I did that was for fun was really just catered around more work. And so finally, for the first time in my whole life, I had freedom, not just with time, but also financial freedom. But nobody ever taught me how to spend that freedom. And I didn't know how. And I remember sitting at all this money and I was just alone, friends gone, girls gone, work's gone. And I'm like, I don't know what to do now. And I go, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna go to LA. And the reason specific for LA, not that it's relevant probably, but I had an idea for a new business model that to this day, no one's ever done. And I think it's genius. And it's not impossible that one day that I attempt to do it. But I needed a place in close proximity with incredibly high income and incredibly low income. So I needed to beta test, and I wanted to know in which demographic this business model would work best. And I had my ideas, but I needed a proof of concept. And I go, LA County has incredible highs and low in such close proximity that's a great location. So I decided to move to LA to start this new business. And I moved to LA, and in the beginning, I'm just like this young rich bachelor, newly single, and all this money, and I'm chilling. I'm having a good time. And then I had new partners, and we're going to start this business. And I go to sign a lease on the building. And not that this is relevant, but just so funny. That building is walking distance from the house I live in today. And we go to sign a lease. And the same week we're signing a lease on that building, they announce COVID. So my partners and I decide, we don't know what this COVID thing is. Let's chill out. Let's pull out. Let's just wait and see how long this lasts. We don't know what it is. And when it's over, then we'll take a building and do this business. We all agreed, no problem. So COVID happens, LA shuts down. LA took it really seriously. And now I'm still alone. I can't meet new people. I can't go out to eat. I can't go anywhere. I don't know anybody. All my friends are dead and gone. And I have all this money still, and I'm all alone. And I'm like, bro, this is so miserable. And I wanted to kill myself. And it was so hard. My sponsors are far away from me. Can't go to meetings. I don't know anybody. It's just tough. It was a weird spot to be in, and it was scary. And then I had one friend from the business who lived in LA, and he's like, yo, Vegas is open. He's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we drove 3.5 hours to Vegas, and we gambled and just had fun. And Vegas was open, as if Vegas basically acted like COVID didn't exist.
Vegas and Miami.
Yeah, right. And so I'm in Vegas, there's all these girls there, and all this partying and all this stuff's happening, and I love to gamble. I've gambled my whole life. Boom, we start gambling. I buy in $20K. Boom, I win $20K, profit, cool, having a blast, meet all these people, get laid, sick, whatever. Weekend's over, we go back to LA, and then me and my buddy just chilling in the penthouse, and we're like, now what? This is terrible. We're depressed, we're bored, we're lonely. We're like, should we go back to Vegas? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Get back in the car, drive back to Vegas, and do it all over again. And I started winning every week, 20,000, 30,000, sometimes 50,000. But we didn't go trying to win money. We were just going.
Get the fuck out.
To get out.
Have some fun, right.
That's all we wanted.
And then you start winning more.
Then we start winning more. And the casinos start noticing, and they go, would you like a bigger room? I go, sure. My room's fine. They go, no, we'll give you a bigger one. It has a few bedrooms in it, so you and your buddy don't have to share, a thing. They put the two beds next to each other.
Yeah.
They go, we'll give you guys separate bedrooms in the same room. And I'm thinking I've never even seen that before. I go, yeah, sure. And they show it to me, got 17-foot vaulted ceilings and chandeliers and a butler. And I'm like, all right. And then, they go, hey, let us know when you want to come back, and we'll fly you. I go, sick. And it started pretty light. They put me on a commercial flight. Oh, that's cool. That's nice of them.
Right.
It's like $100 ticket, whatever. So thoughtful. And we get there, and they give us a bigger room and a bigger room and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden they're giving me private jets and this and that. And me and my buddy were winning. We had lost a few times, for sure. We lost. We never cared about the winning. I would have spent the money to have gained the hanging out and the partying and the girls, right? And but we had won most times, mostly always. And we just said to each other, what if we bought in with an extra zero, buy in more? So instead of buying in for 20 or 30K, we're buying in for 200 and 300,000 every week. What happened was our cash outs had an extra zero. So now I'm winning 200, 300, 500,000 a week. This went on for a few months at that level. And we said to ourselves, and by the way, by then, the casinos are they're just all out, anything I want. They gave me a private jet. They gave me a Maybach. They gave me a Rolls Royce. They gave me, you name it, whatever. 24-hour butler service in any suite. The suites, some of them were like 5-bedroom suites. It's just like me and my buddy, you know? They would send anything. They send us hookers, give us massages, anything that the casino thought we might be interested in, they would just do it, you know? And it was like, what a cool way to live, honestly. It was such a cool way to live. And then it became enough money that it was really worth paying attention to. Seriously paying attention to. And we did. And we had our first $1 million win. It was 1.150 million. I took a video of it. I remember after we won, I was staying in the presidential in the Palazzo, and there's a baby grand piano in there, and I taught myself how to play. I lived for a lot of years. There's always a piano wherever I lived. So I kind of taught myself how to play. Like, I'm not like good or anything, but I remember I was like playing a tune, and Ian put the 1.15 million in cash across the top of the piano I'm playing and just took all these videos. I still have the videos. And so when we hit that $1 million win, we knew that we reached a level that we can't come back from, and we didn't want to come back from. And we said, how do we do this every time? And then pretty shortly after, I was buying in for $3 million every time I played, and I mostly never left without doubling up.
And your biggest haul was 11?
My biggest single session win was $11,526,000.
Took you 7 days to get that?
That's right.
You go home, you go to your hotel. What goes through your head after you just won $11 million in the casino?
I do the same thing every time I win. As soon as I win, I go to cash out. And as I'm doing that, I grab one of the butlers and I say, can you please make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, slightly toasted with sliced bananas, and take the crust off. And a glass of like oat milk or whatever. And the thing is, it takes about 30 minutes for them to make that sandwich and bring it to me wherever I am. So I know for 30 minutes, I have zero ability to make any decisions. For 30 minutes, I have one goal, and that's wait for my sandwich and eat it. So while all these crazy thoughts are going in my head, you should go buy this, you should go do that, you should call this person, tell them, you should go do this, you should go do that. Oh, when you get home, you can do this. None of that matters. For 30 minutes, no matter what I'm thinking, my body's doing one thing, and it's sitting down and waiting for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And by the time I'm done eating, all these stupid thoughts have came and gone through my brain, and now I'm sitting with a rational mind, and I go, okay, now that every dumb idea has gone through my brain, what should I actually do with the money? And every time it's the same thing. It's very slow. It's very steady. I took all the cash, not just the 11.5. I took any penny I had, and I invested in real estate. I created a little team of people I trust who are in real estate, and together we formed an investment portfolio, which is rather exclusively real estate, and that's where all my money sits to this day.
Super cool, man. Smart. That's smart.
I needed to save me for myself, because I'll flip a coin for all the money in the world.
But let me ask you something. People hear this. I even talked to you about, like, how are you in Vegas? We'll get into the girls in a sec. All the party, all the stuff throwing at you. You don't want to use.
Right.
What's going on? How are you feeling right with God? Do you feel right with truth? Do you feel like you're on a mission? Do you feel sober? Do you feel like I'm on point? How does that not yeah.
So I did. My life was very intense for all those years. And with the level of intensity that I was living, there wasn't a lot of room for second guessing. I had a job, and one of my jobs was to stay sober, and I know how to get that job done successfully. And I didn't have time to consider, will one drink hurt? I had too much going on. My life was too intense. I was too busy to even contemplate doubt or second guessing. I had a job. It worked. It was get sober, stay sober. I know how to do that. I do that. My next job, gamble, win, take the money, buy real estate. I did that. I do that. Fine. My next job is so on and so forth. And that took up 24 hours of my day every single day. There was eventually a time, I got banned from almost every casino in the world.
Right.
And so I stopped gambling, and this is basically pre-social media, and it's still COVID time, and I think it was still COVID. Hold on. I want to try to give you the most accurate chronological order, because the banning happened over a series of time. It's a little tricky the way it works, because some of them will unban me or give me permission to come back. The short of it, I know the answer you're looking for, and the answer is that there was a time where I didn't have a job anymore, and I sat there. I didn't have a job to do, a spiritual job. I didn't have a job. I didn't have something intense keeping me occupied. And I sat there, and I had a problem with God, and he and I had a falling out. in a way that might be hard to explain to like the general public that'll be listening. And it's not that my denial of his existence. God definitely exists. He got me sober. He kept me sober. But I feel like something had happened in my life. A lot of things happened in a short period of time. And I sort of felt like he looked at me like, you're doing great, bud. You got this. I'm going to go help somebody else. And when he did that, everything started collapsing around me in my personal life. And I haven't spiritually recovered from that. I am seeking that spirituality. As you know, I'm a regular attendee in a pretty heavy depths in pursuit of that spirituality. And that is where I'm at in my journey today.
Are you comfortable telling the folks a little exercise I gave you?
What's the exercise? Yeah, go ahead.
Huh?
Which exercise?
About how to talk to God again.
Yeah, so my assignment this week was to hit my knees and talk to God, have a conversation.
Be the bigger say, listen, I'm just going to say hello again. You're not dating yet, but just kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my assignment this week.
Beautiful. All right, listen, everybody knows the story about Drake. Everybody knows the story about Little Baby. They look you up, all that kind of stuff. Because of time, if you're comfortable, do you want to talk about your online casino? Okay, because that's amazing that you've done that. You should promote that. Do you want to talk about girls?
I love girls.
I know you do. You like a lot of girls.
I love all girls. I think all girls could be beautiful.
Are you comfortable talking about some of the exploits and things?
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a sex addict, love addict?
So, as I've said in open format before, I don't think I'm a sex or love addict, but
Sorry.
but I'm aware that a lot of my behavior is unmanageable and has a negative impact on my life, and therefore I am open to continuing the journey to find out, because if so, I'd like to work on it.
Right. I mean, you've talked about, I get it. I don't, orgies, bunch of girls running in and out, blah, blah, blah. You're changing your life now about that. You want something different?
I'm doing good. I've taken every assignment you've given me and I've done it.
I know, brother, you're working hard. But one thing you talked about, it made me laugh, but let's talk about fake love.
Okay.
And why we do fake. Talk about fake love.
Okay. So I'm a serial fake relationshipper.
Yeah. What does that mean? Tell the audience what that means.
It means, first of all, it means I'm an idiot. So I've only been in relationships like my whole life, like for the last 15 years, with 5 girls total, filled that 15-year gap. And I had a year single 2 times somewhere in those 15 years. And even in those relationships, I still do. All those girls mostly like let me see other girls also, so it's like pretty easy to do it. And in the times that I've been single, I'm getting better at it now, but it was getting rapidly worse. I would do this thing where I'd find a girl who looked the part, which is really the only thing that mattered to me, and she was into me for whatever reason. To this day, none of us can figure out. I'd grab a beautiful girl, and I'd say, "Hey, we're gonna love each other. We're gonna be in love." Now the girl, and usually I don't know why, but women seem to really respond well to that, which was never my goal. I didn't do it to like pick up chicks. I was just doing it because that's just the type of time I was on. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna be in love." And they're like, "Okay." I'd be like, "Tell me you love me." They say, "I love you." I go, "Okay, I love you too." And then I'd sit and I go, "Wait a second, I just met this girl yesterday. I don't think we love each other, And then I would run that gamut for a week, and I'm super codependent, and I have this thing, I can't be alone. I don't know why. And so I would force these relationships, and then a week would go by, and then I'd find another one and do it again. And I filled every day of my life for the last 15 years like that, basically. Mostly while simultaneously having a long-term girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. A lot of work, brother.
Yeah.
Why are you codependent?
I don't know.
That's my job to figure out, right?
Yeah.
That's where we figure that one out, right?
Yeah, it's your job.
Okay, let me ask you this, brother. When's the world the scariest for you?
When is the world the scariest? When I feel helpless. When I'm not in control, when I don't have the power.
When's the last time you felt that?
I feel it on a micro level pretty regularly. A specific thing will come up that is out of my control, and I sort of lean on the rest of the things in my life that I have control over. I lean on those. I dig in to get through it. When did I feel the problem is when everything in my life is out of control. and everything I have no power to change, and I'm helpless to all of it at the same time. That's when it's the scariest. And the last time that happened is when I had that falling out with God.
You want to talk more about sex and love addiction?
I think it's so raw the way everybody, I think, because everyone's always asking the raunchy stuff, like the war stories, the glorifying, you know?
Yeah.
And I think they missed the mark.
What are they missing?
Like, I think that those are all versions of acting out. And I think if they could understand the internal workings of it, that it would be so applicable in so many ways. It would not just make sense, but I think they'd be able to rationalize their own behavior and improve their own lives. Because I don't think a lot of that stuff is good. I think sometimes it's good, but I think it depends on the inner workings.
Why don't you think it's good? When's it not good?
When I go out with the new girl every night, it is the same conversations every single time. And the truth is, I don't care ever what their answers are. I don't even need to hear their answers. It's not relevant. I have one goal: to fill time not being alone and then have sex. And it's like every night, the time it takes to pick the girl, the time it takes to just put on the show, pretend that I care. It was just super draining. I do not care. I don't care. I don't know the girl's name. It doesn't even matter. It's the same thing every time. They all look alike. It doesn't matter. Do this whole thing and then do it again tomorrow. It's like a 6-hour block, plus I don't get to sleep alone of time. It's just, I don't know. And I just don't care. And it's very draining.
And you can't stop.
And I can't stop.
Because you're so fucking lonely sometimes.
And
you're willing, a guy who makes a lot of money, who can bill in the hour, who can make hundreds of thousands of dollars, you'd rather be at Nobu with some fucking dumb girl talking about dumb shit, trying to figure out the numbers, how fast you can get your ass back down on PCH to get back to your house and do your thing.
And then I have nobody to call when something good happens.
Exactly. And we're trying to break that because I'm teaching you where we want to go with life. I want to be frugal with your energy, learning how to be alone and love yourself. But also, let's talk about this, about love addiction, why it's so powerful. You've been through some fucking painful shit, violent stuff, horrible stuff. Would you not say some of the worst pain is being with a girl and you think she's giving her attention to somebody else?
It's the worst.
It's the worst. Why is it the worst?
You can heal from a broken bone. Your black eye will go away. You know, you can avoid people that are going to jump. You know, if you're in a different set's territory, you know, every time a member of that set sees you, they're gonna try to hurt you. You can just stop going there if you want. There's nothing to do to get away from the pain when a girl breaks your heart. There's like, I'm sure that a healthier man than I has coping mechanisms for that. I'm sure that there are men who know how to deal with heartbreak. I'm sure there's men that know how to navigate a relationship healthy to maybe mitigate the pain of a heartbreak or separation. I know good men that women have done really bad things to them, and I go, that man didn't deserve that. And there's probably men out there that's happened to that know how to handle that. I never needed that skill set. I never needed to know how to cope with women doing me dirty because it never happened. And then as a very far grown adult, deep into long-term relationships, it happened to me. And I realized I'm really just a child. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what to do. I had nobody to call. I didn't know who to call. I don't even know what I ask. I don't even know what I say. And I didn't know how to get through it. And it was like this pain that like still lasts to this day. And it changed the way... It broke me as a man. It changed me as a man. It changed me as a person. The way I navigate relationships to this day is really just a defensive play from the pain I felt from the breakup.
Right. We're going to put an end to that, aren't we? You figured out a way. You beat Vegas at their own game. You figured that out, which is a monumental thing. You know the game. You know it's rigged. You've talked about that. We just have to do that with your brain now. But that's a different hack, isn't it? Scary.
Yeah, it's something I never learned.
But you're doing good though. But we're breaking it down. We're getting better. We're getting healthier, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Sure. Feels better, right? You're learning how to say no.
Yeah, I've been saying no so much. It's so empowering too.
Right? Why is it empowering?
Oh my God. So there's been girls that are just out of this world, offering me everything. And one thing about it, whatever it may be, the detail, I go, that's not convenient for me. No, thank you. And every time, bro, they're looking at me like, bro, you look like a bridge troll and you're saying no to me. And I go, yeah, I'm not interested. And it's like super weird. And it's almost been fun. I'm almost feeling addicted to that.
Let's stay that addicted.
It's been cool. It's been cool. There's a lot of, beautiful women have reached out in the last, how long has it been? Like 2 months, I'd say we've been working on this.
Yeah.
In the last 2 months. And like, I say no, like for fun. I don't know. It's been really cool. I don't know if that's healthy either, by the way. There's probably like a correct answer somewhere in the middle.
No, that's pretty good. It's a good start. Better just to stop sometimes.
Yeah.
And say no. All right, let's do this, brother. Let's thank you for that, man. I'm really grateful that you broke that down for folks. Folks watching the show, struggling with addiction, struggling with relapse, struggling with depression, struggling with maybe calling in a day. What's the message for them? What's the message of hope?
I don't have all the answers, but I do know that if I do my job, that I get a paycheck at the end, even spiritually.
What's the job?
Whatever it may be, like whatever my task is. Sometimes it is work. Sometimes I know I have to set an alarm. I have to wake up really early when I don't want to, and I have to go show up and do a task. I don't feel like it, but I can pay my rent. Sometimes it's I gotta hit my knees and talk to God because I know that there's a spiritual payoff. I know that there's a benefit in my life. Sometimes I know I don't want to. Bro, I hate sponsees. Sponsees are like the bane of my existence. But I know that if I don't work with sponsees, I relapse. And so for me, I will go find sponsees and I will work their steps with them and I will answer their calls despite the a million trillion better things I'd rather be doing in my day at that time. But I know that that's my job, and in return, I get to stay sober.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Rashad. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
More to be continued. And I really love you. I appreciate you big time, buddy. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Okay, man.
I'm going to see you tomorrow, too.
I'll be here. I'll be here.
Yeah.
The Ceno Show is a production of iHeart Podcasts, hosted by me, Ceno McFarlane, produced by Pod People and 28th Ave. Our lead producer is Keith Carlick. Our executive producer is Lindsay Hoffman. Marketing lead is Ashley Weaver. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.